Hello, and welcome to a very depressing episode of About the Albums, where we're talking about the album Negative. This album I did in September of 2012, is when it came out, and really Negative generally is a thing where I took just a lot of my sadness and depression and anger and general pessimism, negativity. I put it all into this album. I was kind of just a downer on purpose with it, a lot of it too. Because it's a lot of getting the stuff out of my system from, like, I guess some of it is from, like, the early college stuff, and also a lot of, like, just high school stuff. I just kind of had it kicking around in my brain, and I needed to get it out of me. And so this was kind of me working through that. And helping to let go of that stuff by making songs about a lot of it. Fun fact about this one also is that like I said, I was in college. I posted on the Facebook page for, like, our dorm or whatever, and then I guess somebody sent it. It got sent around to, like, the counselor there, and they were like, "You should see me." And I was like, "Uh-oh." And of course that was awkward, because it was also, like, talking to them, like, they're just kind of trying to be like, "Are you, like, okay?" or whatever. It's like, I think I'm fine. Made a lot of jokes, because that's what I do when things are serious. I'm not good at handling serious things, so I just make jokes to cope. Also, I just like to make jokes to be funny. So it probably just looked like I was trying to mask something with humor, but I don't know. And I never saw them again, because they're like, if you want, you can talk again or whatever. It's like, okay, that's cool. Never did. But, yeah, at that point I was fine. So, I don't know. That was a fun tidbit to start with. That's actually interesting for once. And I guess this album also is interesting too, just to me. I guess it was one where I didn't really care. Like, I was not self-conscious about the way I was singing, really. It was just more about the music and the subject matter. And so while singing isn't great, at least, like, it was fun to record it and not care about that, and not really be like, "Oh man, am I singing this well enough?" I just didn't care on this one, and it just made it a lot more fun to do. So that's cool. Let's jump into the album known as Negative. I can't help you. I can't help you. I Can't Help You leads off the album because it sounds a little happier with the music anyway. But the concept is just the idea that, like, I want to help, but I just don't know how to help you, because you won't communicate with me, because I just lack the skills to help you. It's sort of a mix of, like, I'm not capable to help people. People aren't capable of helping me help them. So ultimately, I just can't really help people. And that's a sad feeling to me. It's pretty, I don't know. That was a thing that bothered me a lot, because I wanted to help people if I could, especially the few people I was actually talking to. I've always had kind of issues with that. I don't really get along with a whole lot of people very easily. So when I do, feel like I'm making some kind of connection to, I'd like to be able to help them and communicate, and, like, having that continually fall through was pretty rough on me during these times. And along with that, I guess part of that is also just because, again, I was younger, they were younger. Understanding probably was a little harder to come by at that point. In life generally for just younger people, and I don't know, it's tough. Usually something has to happen to make you be like, "Oh, I get it," So I don't know, but that's what that was kind of based around. And man, it sounds like I made some strides since the last album, because that sounds like a real goddamn song. I'll eat my lunch, guess it's gone bad. Puking up a lung, only one I had. Try to be early, winding up late. Just my luck, just my fate. Pessimist is a pessimistic song, just about how things, could go well, but they won't. They never do. And while most of the things I'm talking about here really aren't like based on things that have happened to me, it's just that pessimistic general outlook that I was going for. It's actually a little bit inspired musically by, I believe it's called Last Dance with Mary Jane by Tom Petty. It's a little similar in style to that. It's nowhere near as cool as that. I'm not trying to be like, it's on the level. No, but it's, I really like that song, and so I, kind of went for a similar feel, and like, maybe you can hear it, maybe you can't. Also, funny enough about this song, there's the line, puking up a lung, only one I had. And I got a little flack for that, and it's like, why would you only have, most people have 2 lungs, why would you only have 1 lung? Doesn't make sense. So for one thing, it was sort of implying that I was like born with only 1 lung, as part of the, pessimistic outlook. I don't have both lungs, which isn't really, I don't know, like, I only have 1 lung, as opposed to as being like, at least I have 1 lung, or something like that, right? But funny thing about that is, after, getting flack about it, I decided later in an album I made, the title of the album is How I Lost My Lung, and there's a song in there that's supposed to be about more or less how this character lost their lung. So, we'll get there. But that's what that's a reference to. And I'm sure I'll mention it again. So that's it's a goofy tidbit. Some weird things tie into each other here, and they're all over the place. So really gonna get slight rewards for watching all of these, because it'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that from the other thing. It's canon. And We Don't Know is about just a lot of ways that you can die, and then just this idea that we don't really know where we go once we die. Which kind of follows along with, I don't know, I guess I don't know if, I probably haven't established that in the series here or anything. You guys don't know, but I'm atheist. So, the idea that you don't really know where you go when you're dead, that was a thing that would weigh on me a lot too. It wouldn't bother me to the point of needing to believe there's something there, but it does make me wonder, because how do you know? You can't know, really, consciously about it. So, the music was cool too. I really like the music in this song. Though I think, couple of things are like, I'm pretty sure I made the music and then just tried to sing over it. I didn't really leave necessarily breaks and whatnot, and like plan out what's going to be like a verse or a chorus or something. So I just kind of had to put lyrics in where they fit. And also near the end, like, I kind of like stop a little early with the "and we don't know where we goes," and so I have to like bring another one in, kind of like a couple more in awkwardly, because I stopped too early. But it's still a pretty cool song, so I like it. I still like it now. And I realize some of the things are maybe kind of funny, like if you jump off a plane or fall off a building that's too high, like, okay, but like, I don't know, like, they work, so back off, man. It's getting way too cold, and we're not coming home. We're Not Coming Home is about this group going up, climbing a mountain, and then like this blizzard comes in and they can't really find their way back down. Was kind of my thought, was like kind of like that, or like, off in like the wilderness, like during a blizzard, It felt very cold. And they mentioned being cold in the song, and it said essentially they just end up dying on their expedition. It just kind of like slowly sinks in. It's like, we're not gonna get out of this. That's really the whole thing of the song, and the interesting part, I guess, is that the way I did it was, I was playing, and I had like the words written up on like a notebook or whatever, and so especially this early on, it was kind of tough to play those parts and then read my words off the notebook and then sing it and then keep playing. And I guess I kind of just wanted to see if I could do it that way rather than recording that part and then singing between there, so I could make the space I needed to make for pauses and whatnot. So the beat's a little off in certain parts. The lyrics, don't really fit great with some of the measures. But just the idea that I could do that is probably a helpful thing that I didn't use a ton later, I guess, but having a skill was not a bad thing to try and hone at the time. So I tried. If you're looking to die, this is a pretty safe plan. Negative is the title track, and if you're following along with the series of About the Albums, Generation had a song called Steel Demon, and I don't know if this was done first or that was. I don't know which order the songs were made in, but they're obviously based on the same riffs. But Negative is about, it's about like, well, if your life sucks so much, if things are so terrible, then why don't you kill yourself? It's gonna be a bad day, and that was really coming from a place of, I guess, like, if it's bad enough, like, you would, right? Like, that was kind of my thinking. And also, I think this was back when I still was kind of, I still really viewed that as something that seemed like a, like an option of like a thing you could do, right? Like, oh yeah, like, whatever, like, I have the option to kill myself if I want to. And that's probably not an option you want to have on the table. It's not something you want to just be like, yeah, something I could do, because it's a pretty big thing to be thinking, like, I could do that, I guess. That's also, like, I don't know, I could go out and hang out with people today, or I could stay home and cry, or I could kill myself. Like, it seems like a weird thing to throw in there, right? Like, seems like I don't know. Clearly a different headspace, different time. I'd say a different person, but I kind of hesitate to say that because, well, I guess people change. You're still that person. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with any of this, but yeah, it's a pretty dark song, and very fitting for the album overall. And a lot of my music and a lot of my mentality for a long time was kind of centering around that. So it did take a little while to pull me out of those, but I got there. I'm here. I obviously didn't do that. So, thumbs up for me not suiciding myself. Or anyone else for that matter. Life is a lie. Life is a lie. Life is a Lie is pretty much about what the title says. It's kind of the idea that, this question, like, what is life? Is life a real thing? Are we really here? That kind of, philosophical bullshit where you don't really dig into it and try to find that out. You just ask the questions and you're like, how do we know life is real and not just like a lie, man? And so I just kind of like that concept because, again, being really depressed and stuff, you're like, well, what if life isn't even a real thing? That would be kind of cool. right? I don't know. I guess you could see this as me being edgy or something too, but the riffs are neat. It's a pretty simple song, but I think it works, and I like the feel of it. And I don't know, it definitely feels like it fits right in on this album. That is for sure. Hold on to your hats, folks. The verdict is in. No. No is a bluntly titled song, and boy does that fit on negative. No. It's the narration thing. It's not even really singing. It's just narration in it. Is there to give it a little bit of context and negativity. With the concept of like everything that like you thought you were like was leading to some kind of like purpose, some kind of answer. What's the meaning of life? Like, is there something we should be working towards or something like that? And the answer is no. That was kind of the idea for the song. And, the rest of it is just mostly based. It's very heavily just focused on, being cool music. In fact, like, because of the simplicity of that, and, like, some of the tones and stuff, and the way it's kind of repetitive, repeating some similar parts through a lot of it, actually, and the tones themselves reminds me a bit of Moving in Stereo from By the Cars. Which I really like that song. It's not as good as that song, but it's got like a kind of a bit of those like vibes in there. And this song is actually based off of like the main riffs are based off of something called Sandstone. I believe that's what I called it. A song I did instrumentally before, and then since that's not really around anymore, like it doesn't really matter that much. But it was based on that riff that I had hanging around for a while, and I turned it into this, which musically is, just more interesting than those were anyway, so that's good. And I'm happy about it. No. They won't be back. They won't be back. They won't be back. Won't be back is based on this idea of like, well, I guess it's based on not really just an idea. It's based on. I feel like there were a number of people I would talk to, and then they would just kind of eventually evaporate on me, and I I don't know if it was something I did or if it was on like something with them, and they didn't want to talk to me or they couldn't or whatever, and I just felt like people were kind of just disappearing left and right all the time. Again, going along with that theme of it's hard for me to make connections with people. And so, this is kind of just almost more of a, I guess, uplifting in the sense of like, it's trying to help you with that, and it's like, you just gotta like accept that they're just not gonna come back. But also it still kind of works with the negative, depressing vibe of like, they're not coming back. And it's not like maybe. It's like no, like they're not. And you just have to accept that's a sucky thing that's true, and just move on. So better than wallowing in it and letting it destroy you, but not quite as nice as maybe someday it'll be better. That's not really in there. So also it has a cool little like key change thing or whatever in the middle. It does something different with that, which I thought was pretty good for me because I usually couldn't do stuff like that very often, like reliably at the time. I could do it by accident, but on purpose, that was really, really hard. So that came off pretty well in that song. Like that. No matter what, you're gonna die. So what's the point? So what's the point? The point is about the point of life and how, there's not really one. you're just gonna die. So, like, it's, again, a huge downer, but it really gets to the central, like, core thing of, where a lot of this comes from, for this album especially, of, like, just this really, like, hopeless, like, pointless outlook on everything. And it's like, that was something I struggled with a lot, when I was younger, even than when I was making this. It was like, what is the point? And I really couldn't ever find an answer. And so it was kind of like, I guess there's not one. In that, like, I think it was like 11 or something when I, like, had, like, that big, like, I can't come up with an answer issue. And then I just felt like luckily I was only 11, right? Like, so, like, this thing only lasted a little while where it was really, really bad when that first really hit me. Then I kind of tried to forget about it and distract myself from it. But, like, initially what had happened, luckily I wasn't around anything that was going to be really dangerous. But it just, like, kind of crushed me to the point where it's like, all I really do is play video games. And there was a stretch there where I didn't even do that. I just didn't really do anything. Because, like, why do anything? And now it's still, like, I think, I like that it still kind of represents so much of that's been in me for so long. And then also, the music in it is really cool. I still really, really like the song in general. It's a nice sounding song, to me. The way it came together. The only thing is that I did do 2 versions of this that I was kind of torn between. I think I originally had one as, like, a bonus track, and then got rid of it. And the other one, I didn't like the vocals as much, but the one part, in here it's like, death is all that time will bring, doesn't really fit the beat. I need, like, an extra thing in there. And in that other version, I think I sung, your death is all that time will bring, which fit better. So I always liked that, but at that point it was like I have to pick one or the other because these are already edited together. The other parts and stuff, like, I don't have any other takes of it. Since I did the block recording thing, so it was like, okay, well, I got to record a bunch of things, and then I'll go and edit them later, and then a block of editing, and then uploading, and that kind of thing. So I couldn't do anything about it at that point. But I still like The Point quite a bit. I think it's probably the standout one on the album to me. And that's coming from a totally biased person saying that. So, that's a thing you heard. Why even try? You wonder why? How could you know you're all alone? You're All Alone is about just not really connecting with anyone. Imagine that. Just not really having anyone to, like friends or anything, or connections with people, and just kind of being alone. And the way I have the parenthetical in the title can, like, I guess it can maybe sort of emphasize all, to be like, everyone is like this. But also it can be that as an optional thing to put in there, instead of being all alone, just putting, like, saying, like, you're alone. And I don't know, like, the characterization is kind of interesting, I guess, there. But obviously this is mostly just, like, the beginning part where, like, I have, like, the words and I'm singing with it. And the other part, it's like, okay, and the music's taking over, and it's pretty much like a half and half thing. It's kind of interesting, and it was easy. I think I've done that less as time has gone on, because it feels a little, like, lazy to do that now, but it still can be interesting when done in a good way, when the parts are good. So that's cool. I guess in a way you could say that the singing part and then the music playing part are both also alone, because they're separated from one another. But I wouldn't say that, because that would sound really dumb. Everything's wrong. Everything's wrong. Everything's Wrong is pretty simple lyrically, and not even too complicated musically. It just was a nice little sound to the riffs that I found there. And actually in the breakdown parts where it's like just there's less of it, less piano stuff happening. That part actually kind of reminds me a bit of like Television Man by the Talking Heads. A little bit of that reminds me of. But yeah, this one is just kind of like comes together as like this big explosive, like everything is wrong, going along with the theme of negativity. Just everything is wrong, and it's this torrent of like chaos, and terribleness. Was kind of the feeling pushing through the, hopefully in the actual like riffs and stuff. But I don't know. I get this. What was going to be the ending song, but because this is the remaster, and there aren't like I don't do bonus tracks. The next one is actually the last song now, because it was a bonus track and now it's not. So this would have been a better ending song than that's going to be. But I guess I don't know. Maybe I should let you decide before. So we got one more. Let's see what it is like. Don't, which was originally a bonus track, is now the final song on the album, and it's an instrumental, although there are a couple parts you can hear me saying don't in the background. But to be fair, in the original version, I don't think you could even hear that. It only really came out more once I remastered it, cleaned up some of the background noise, and also, when I did it, I didn't think you'd be able to hear me at the time, so if that means anything, there's that. And it's pretty simple instrumental thing. It's nothing crazy. It's pretty repetitive thing, and I'm just kind of like playing a bunch of little things over it. But it's okay, and it's called Don't, so it fits in with the whole negative theme, don't. And that's negative. The whole album now. It's done. Got it over with, and we're through it. And if you're still with me, that's good, because I'm still with you, and neither of us have offed ourselves during this process, so this is good. We are good. I do still like going back and listening to this, even though a lot of the singing isn't the best. This was a great experience to do these and just to have fun with it and get this stuff off my chest, get it out of my system. I think it was really important for me personally to do this. And that's great. And hopefully it isn't too much of a downer for people out there. Hopefully it helps them. Maybe it's a nice thing where you're feeling this way, and hearing this stuff kind of helps you, express that and get it out of your system, so it's not bottling up and getting worse. Stuff gets better, but sometimes you gotta feel bad before it does. So, anyways, gonna have the links and timestamps and all that stuff. Gonna try to put that in the description, and just, I don't know, the link to the album. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. It's cool that people are gonna be checking this out. Again, as I say, I haven't put anything up yet, so I don't know if anyone has or not. But this is the idea that if you're here and you're hearing this and you are that person, then thanks, because that's cool that somebody might find this interesting. That they're interested enough to listen to me yammer on about these songs that usually are in if I'm lucky, double digits on views. So it's cool. Thanks. I'll see you next time on About the Albums. The album art for Negative was made in MS Paint. I believe it was the older MS Paint. And I wanted to make it just this really simple concept I got in my head, where I would basically, it would be like in science or something, when it's like, or even in math or something, like a negatively charged particle in science, or like a negative number in math or something. I just put a dash to denote like the subtraction sign, the negative sign, and then I put my name next to it, for putting my name on the cover. So like that was really all the thought that went into it. Of like I kind of really like the simplicity of that, and also it's taking up so little of like the album cover, so it creates a lot of negative space on the cover as well. So I think it all kind of fits with the overall theming. I think it comes off well, even though there's not much there. I think there's at least enough there to tell that minimalist story I'm going for. So it's not a whole lot to talk about on that cover, but like there's more thought behind it than you might think. What do you think of that? I'll stop. That we don't know